right, people. There it is. Square Enix. Let me get the audio down from this press conference.
You're gonna silence that jam?
Yes, I'm definitely silencing that jam. There you go. That's Square Enix's E3 2021 press conference. You were a good sleuth there. You had figured out right in the middle there that might be it, and it was indeed it. I thought it might be a little longer, but they did, in contrast to what I complained about with the Xbox and Bethesda press conference, it spent time with the games. I'm a little surprised how much time it spent with the Life is Strange franchise, because it's kind of low-key, sells okay. It's not the type of franchise that's going to change your fortunes in a quarter, a financial
although
quarter.
It does win stuff. It gets attention. It gets write-ups and more mainstream stuff because it's story-driven and diverse and has interesting ideas.
Yep. Kick things off with Guardians of the Galaxy, under development by Eidos Montreal. We had pontificated that maybe they were working on something else, like maybe a Tomb Raider. Nope. It, in fact, was Guardians of the Galaxy. Matt, I think we're both big fans of that IP. How do you feel about how it's being handled here?
Feel better than Avengers.
I mean, I'm trying to set my expectations accurately because I was also excited for Avengers when I first saw it. And so I don't want to get my hopes up too high.
I was pretty underwhelmed by Avengers when I first saw it. I felt better about it after I played the beta. This looks like much more, because the part of it was trying to mitigate sort of what Avengers was versus what I thought Avengers should have been in terms of genre and style of game. Guardians is much more along the lines of what if you hand me the Marvel license, that is basically what I would make.
Yeah.
You know, a story-driven action RPG focusing on character and spectacle. As opposed to what Avengers was, which was an attempt to milk money from us for years on end in the form of a very limited action RPG framework plastered into a free-to-play model that was still charging me $70.
Right.
This looks like more a proper treatment of the Marvel property to me. We'll see. You know, obviously there's a lot more to it. Like, is it going to be any good when we get our hands on it? How does it feel to play? But this is definitely more what I was picturing in my head when they said, we have the Marvel license and we're having Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal make games out of them.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. Look, the campaign in Avengers was, I thought, pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but it would have been better if it had been part of a game that was built to be more of a single player, more co-op driven, story driven action game. Because, like, the problem with Avengers is no matter how much you like the story, how much you like that, you're sort of like, playing that game. Part of my problem with it, and part of the reason I don't like to go back to it, is like you can feel the constraints of what that game was designed to be in terms of a bite-sized mission section to grind for loot to keep you coming back and logging in every day to do stupid, meaningless missions over and over again. And there's no structure to it. There's no, there's not going to be any surprises. You know what that game can do and what it can pull off. Even after the giant claw comes out of the ground in the Wakanda thing, that boss fight is just going to be running around on the ground, dodging guys. He's going to be smashing stuff and shooting the sound beam. And says there's no room for improvisation in terms of what you're designing as a mission in the Avengers game. This looks like it's more freeform. They can do some bigger stuff in it, just because they're not tied into having to be, a co-op online co-op game. It's they limited themselves ridiculously with Avengers in terms of what that game is when treating a property that should have no limits. Guardians looks like much more of what I would want a Marvel game to be.
How big of a deal is it they don't have the likenesses and the voices from the films?
I don't think it is one, really.
Yeah, it doesn't bother. Maybe I got over the hump with Avengers or whatever.
Somewhat. I mean, you also like those characters look much more like themselves because the only one who really has an actor's face that is recognizable is Peter. Is Star-Lord. Yeah. The others, obviously you associate Bautista and who's Gamora. I'm blanking on the actress.
I don't remember her name.
But they're under makeup, and this, Rocket is a CG character.
Right.
Groot is a CG character.
That was the voice that stood out the most to me. That's different.
Well, nobody can do Bradley Cooper quite the way Bradley Cooper does.
Yeah.
But it's good enough. It's fine. And when in an action, Star-Lord has the mask on anyway. So I don't think I don't think it's as as vital. because I like the Guardian stuff a lot, but it's not as recognizable as Robert Downey Jr., who's a a movie star from before the Avengers stuff, or even Chris Evans, who is just sort of defines that character. Chris Pratt certainly defines Star-Lord, but Star-Lord's appearance doesn't really shake me as much as looking at like kind of the Captain America bought from a Walgreens kind of thing that was sort of in play before.
Yeah.
Or Chris Hemsworth not looking like Thor not looking like Chris Hemsworth. And again,
I feel like they've hit the tone accurately.
The tone was more accurate.
The writing seems pretty good, not as good as the films, but pretty good.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get James Gunn for these. Yeah. But it's good enough. And also, the Guardians is a more malleable franchise because they were redefined by the films so much. I mean, people forget Star-Lord was gone from continuity for like 20 years until Annihilation showed up, and even then, like Star-Lord had been traditionally basically a space cop. Like he had no sense of humor. He was sort of a by the book guy. He was just like there was not a lot, and then got completely reinvented by the movie. And now in the comics, Star-Lord is of course like the Chris Pratt version
was in the film. Yeah.
Just like how Iron Man was never a sarcastic, quippy character before. That was Hawkeye's job. That's one of the reasons Hawkeye has nothing to do in the Avengers movies, is because he's supposed to be the sarcastic comedy guy.
His role was taken over by Iron Man.
And Robert Downey Jr. took that as part of Tony Stark's character because he needed.
It is interesting how actors can form these characters that then gets reflexively reflected back in the comics.
Robert. 9 years ago, Robert Downey Jr. made an offhand ad-lib on the Avengers set about wanting to eat shawarma, and now there's 2 shawarma restaurants at Disneyland. Like
that's crazy.
What we do in life echoes in eternity.
It does, yeah.
And sometimes that is just what Disney tries to feed you at their theme parks. But like, it's amazing how even the littlest things in some of these movies had impact on the pop culture.
Yeah.
Which is ironic considering we just talked about Avatar yesterday, which did the opposite.
Yeah. I think my biggest concern with Guardians of the Galaxy, having, again, watched footage and not played it, the combat does look a little janky to me. And I feel like that is something that I've kind of developed over time, is being able to watch a game being played and have a vague idea of how it actually feels to play. That's never 100%.
It's gonna matter how it feels when you get it in your hands more, I think. Like, because I can see the seams under it. Like there's part of me that looks at that and it's just like, oh, it looks like it's maybe based on some of the same stuff as of the Avengers game in places.
Yeah, I felt that way too.
But again,
which doesn't make sense because they're from 2 different teams.
But I think they are maybe using the same engine.
That's possible.
But the not that necessarily matters, but like, but I thought of Biomutant, where like it wasn't until I got that first play of Biomutant when I pushed the analog stick forward and the character moved the way it moved, and I was like, oh no, that doesn't feel good. Like you don't always know. Like you have an instinct for it, but I'm not super willing to judge things that early. It's because Biomutant looked fine.
In the
trailers, and then like as soon as I got my hands on it and I saw that character move.
What a difference for me. I went from finishing Biomutant to playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Change.
If you want to play a game that feels good, and a lot of that too is just the way they handle the DualSense. Like you feel each footstep in the DualSense, which is crazy.
Yep.
But everything that happens in that game, you feel it in your hands. Like,
but it's subtle and it works. And in contrast, if you want to see a way that it doesn't, and this might be because I think I haven't played this on the DualSense. I only played it on Xbox. Fallen Order, that new patch, added a lot of rumble features. And so when you start sprinting with Cal, you feel each footstep early on.
It makes a difference,
and
man.
through the Xbox controller, it does not work properly. It feels terrible. Because there's no nuance to the vibration on the Xbox controller, so it just feels like you're.
That gets annoying after
whereas
a while.
I could definitely imagine, because I haven't played it on PS5, but I could definitely imagine the same effect on the DualSense, which has a lot more nuance to how the vibration works. I bet that would be almost a subliminal thing.
Like the footsteps in Ratchet and Clank, it's just like a little tick.
You barely notice it.
It's just a little tick in your hands. Yeah.
The Xbox controller does not have the fine motor control, literally the fine motor control
no pun
to
intended.
Do that. Which I don't know. Like I remember a long time ago, you brought up the idea of like maybe Microsoft will do a controller that has that kind of
more haptic-based feedback.
That haptic element. I more and more I think that might be in the cards.
It needs to happen, I think.
Yeah. Especially if you get things like with Fallen Order where it feels like they did the work for the DualSense and they just sort of like straight ported it to the Xbox, and it does not work for me. And I don't want to turn the vibration completely off because it takes a lot of the other stuff away.
Right.
But like every time I sprint, I hate it. Like I've stopped sprinting because I don't like the vibration feature when it happens.
Well, that's the tough part. It's like it's always an all or nothing. Like I don't like playing shooters with the DualSense. It's realistic. Sure, having a half like cocked and having resistance if you halfway squeeze the trigger, it's realistic, but competitively, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So,
it's interesting how much feel has suddenly become a component in a way it wasn't before because of that.
I do feel like the combat in Guardians looks a little off to me. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying from my experience watching the footage.
It's got some ways to go as well. I mean, there's tweaking.
Like the animation isn't really smooth.
But I also don't expect it to be amazing. You know,
like some of the stuff was kind of awkward. Like it was cool, but awkward. Like the one shot where he was sliding on his back and shooting, it's like that's a cool, fun thing to do, but it looked off.
Also, like Avengers has a similar sort of jerky feel in places, but I think that combat's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it feels good.
So
I like the combat in Avengers for sure.
I'm not going to completely judge Guardians by its animation.
Me either. I'm excited for it. I thought it looked good.
Yeah, I'm pleased
it's
this year. Like,
they showed a ton of it. They talked to the people who made it. I have a good idea of what it is.
Yeah.
Like, are you surprised the choice is such a big thing in the game? Does that make sense with the IP, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the last thing they did in a video game with that IP was the Telltale game. So, like, yeah, it makes sense to me to carry that forward.
Okay. And then they showed, like, a couple reworks of old Final Fantasy games. They showed Avengers, which, in my opinion, they ended up focusing on a lot of stuff that I don't care about and not enough on the stuff that I think a lot of people were looking. Like, where's Spider-Man still, dude?
I mean, that's PlayStation only, so maybe that's Sony's domain, but where's Captain Marvel? She was in the initial run-up, too, and we're coming up on a year.
I mean, I'll say this: the Wakanda expansion looks bigger than I thought, more robust than I thought, so that's good. But man, that game is in trouble.
And I hope they have. I hope Black Panther plays very differently from the other characters. Like
he has to.
Yeah, that's the big thing. What's the big thing is they need to differentiate because they've had 2 Hawkeyes in a row. Like that, you need these characters that do different things.
Yep, agreed. And then they went and did a little mobile section, Hitman and Nier. And then they showed Babylon's Fall in my opinion, for way too long.
Yeah, Babylon's Fall feels dead in the water to me.
Yeah.
That's probably because I'm not interested in that kind of game very much, and I'm not a huge Platinum fan, but like...
You're not?
No.
I thought you were, Matt.
Not automatically. I like some of the stuff they've done.
Interesting.
But I
thought you were a big like character action player.
No.
Wow, I don't know where I got that from.
I mean, I know a lot about them. I've played most of them, but like I don't... The thing about character action stuff, it's like I find most of the combat systems in those fairly obtuse and kind of annoying. Like you have to learn a lot to play like stuff like that.
Doesn't look like
effectively.
You'd have to in Babylon's Fall though.
And to me, like the only thing I'm going to spend a lot of time learning that like a combat system like that for is I'm playing against other people in a fighting game. Like if I'm just getting like S ranks on Devil May Cry, who gives a shit? Like there's no competition to me there. I'm not. Who am I showing off for at that point? Myself? Like I don't care. I want to get through the game.
Yeah.
But Platinum, like I like Nier Automata. I like some of the stuff they do, but Platinum is not an instant interest for me.
After seeing this, it shouldn't be anyone's interest.
No, I mean,
it just seems very uninspired. It feels like a game where the boss came to them and said, "We need a game with X, Y, and Z."
Yeah. You want a 4-player co-op,
co-op, platinum combat with a game as a service that can live on, and that's what you get.
And that's what you got.
Yeah. It just seems really.
It's not like I didn't like Astral Chain very much, but like at least I see the reason that game existed. Yeah, it's like the idea makes sense to me. I just didn't like it. Yeah, but like
I liked the combat. I thought the story and the plot and all that was just throwaway.
I just didn't. I saw where I understand where the combat was going. I just didn't feel the interest or need to learn it for very similar reasons that I just said. But this is just like, all right.
I feel like a black hole to me.
It made me think of Too Human.
Yeah.
Like in a obtuse way.
From
just
Japan.
Sort of like, just sort of like, all right, that's a fantasy game where you hit things. Cool.
Yep.
Godfall. Like there's not a...
Yeah, that's a good example, actually. That's a good comparison. And then Life is Strange, they talked about the remastered collection that's coming. They talked about the new game that's coming. Demoed the game, demoed the superpowers for the new game. Did it increase your interest in it at all?
I mean, I don't increase my... I'm in for those. I like the Life is Strange games. I've like
they're not a priority.
No, but I'll play them.
I'll get around to playing it.
And I'm glad that this one is not doing episodic. So, like, I'm more on board with that. Like, I get the episodic stuff at its time, but I'm over it. And
so is this not even split into episodes? No. It's just one chunk?
It's just one game.
Oh, okay. I kind of liked the episodic nature of the old games, I didn't like having to wait to play the next one. Like,
yeah, if you want to divide, if this thing's divided up into episodes internally, but it all just comes out in one, like, I'm fine with that.
That's what I'm kind of
I didn't like having to, I waited until they were all out to play them all in one chunk. That's what I would always do.
I felt like the episodic nature of
I even
those
did that
games
with Kentucky
actually,
Route Zero, which took 5 years.
Right?
So,
yeah. That's the other side of the extreme.
Yeah.
I do feel like structuring these games in that way adds something to
them.
them.
Structure for that worked in the context of those games, because it, like, it split it up by days or by whatever. Like the episodic, like, structure wasn't my problem. The release schedule was my problem.
Yeah,
I'd rather play them all at once.
I agree. So that's looking promising. I'm pretty excited for that. But it'll be one of those games that I pick up after I probably finish something else that's bigger.
Yeah, because September's looking increasingly crowded.
Yep. And then they finished the whole thing off with a game that I still wasn't even 100% convinced was real, despite all the reports that had come out about it. Final Fantasy Origin, a Dark Souls-like set during the era of the first Final
Strangers
Fantasy.
of Paradise or whatever.
Developed by Team Ninja.
Mm-hmm. Input from Nomura.
Yeah, I will say this. I was more excited by the concept of it than what I just saw.
Yeah, that wasn't... I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm too old, but there's elements of that. And I'm just like, okay, are you just trying to appeal to 15-years-olds constantly?
The corny voiceover... Yeah, like, I guess when people say a Souls-like...
The too cool, like, main character and stuff. I don't know.
I don't just say it's hard. Like, I always say there's a tone there. Like, Nioh has kind of the same tone as Dark Souls.
It's an oppressive darkness to it. There's a nihilism to it.
It's
almost.
dark fantasy.
Yeah.
I felt like this was reaching for dark fantasy.
It felt like dark fantasy the world felt like dark fantasy, but like the characters felt like they were visiting from another game.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay.
It's like they got teleported from...
I don't know what Nomura's thing is for putting like modern day people in like fantasy settings, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It's very jarring and odd.
It looked like
awkward.
the Final Fantasy 15 cast like went on a field trip.
They're like cosplaying or something.
Like the guy,
they're at the Ren Fair.
Yeah, the smaller, snarky guy on the left was like, okay, you're just Prompto with different hair.
Yeah.
You know, like
it even sounded like the same voice.
It might have been. It might have been.
Yeah. So I was a little disappointed in that.
Like I'm still interested to play it because like the mechanics seem like they might be something worth it.
Yeah. Because it's made by Team Ninja.
But it has like this. It has a try hard to it. Aesthetically, it doesn't really the Dark Souls, the From Software stuff doesn't have.
It sounded better on paper than so far it's appeared in practice.
I think it would have been. I would have preferred to not have it with all Nomura's guys in jeans and rock star garb, and have it just be
match the world that they're
or
in.
have the old like Warriors of Light designs, but like kind of darkened up or edgied up a little bit would be fine. But like I don't understand the obsession with bringing these guys that look like they should be fighting with guitars.
Right.
You know, it's just I
have a feeling it'll play very well.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So there's certainly hope for it, but I'm a little disappointed in it.
Yeah. It's just I kind of expect that, I guess, from now at this point from Final Fantasy.
It's a pretty bizarre concept when you really sit back and think about it.
Yeah.
And it had too much of a comedic tone. Like you'd never see something like that in a From Software game.
No.
You just wouldn't. It just wouldn't happen.
I would just prefer.
No one cracks jokes.
Like I much would have preferred if the classic Warriors of Light style and all that, but like you'd done them up like Dark Souls, and it was just like you could have made it like an oppressive dark fantasy sort of like thing like that.
Yep.
And sort of the real story is like not about these like golden warriors of light with crystals. It was like, no, that was actually a horrible, horrible time that everybody went through some real serious shit with.
Yeah.
And it was cleaned up in the legends to be more of an aspirational tale. Like that would be a cool way to kind of go about that and still keep that sort of edgy, dark thing to it.
Yep.
But instead you threw a guy in with motorcycle boots and that like headbutts wolves in the mouth, and I'm just like, okay.
They did show it though. I'm actually surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it was there. It existed.
It was a pleasant surprise. I'll say that. Compared to some of the other stuff, I thought was more likely to show up.
Yeah, like if you're not going to show Final Fantasy 16, I guess that's the next best thing. And
yeah.
Not even.
Yeah, they didn't even show Final Fantasy 16.
Not even mention 7 Part 2 or.
They didn't even mention 16.
Yeah. I mean, they mentioned it.
Did they?
At the end, they did like a list of games.
Oh,
that are coming.
That's right. They did.
It was in there.
In that little thing. Yeah. Okay. All right, we're just about ready to share our letter grades for the Square Enix press conference, but before that, here's a word from our E3 sponsor. It's time to find out why everyone is buying homes in Montana. The Shazer Ryan Realty has a totally remodeled 4-bedroom, 3-bath home for sale in Libby, Montana. Nestled next to the mountains on Libby Creek, this split-level home features almost 3,300 square feet of living space, It includes a fully finished basement, a 2-car garage, a barn, a shop, and much more. There's a covered back porch just off the kitchen, so you can enjoy your morning coffee the way nature intended. At $479.9, it's an absolute steal. They're selling homes as fast as they can list them, so if you're interested, do not hesitate to call Doug DeShazer at 406-291-1643. Even if you don't live in Montana, you can contact the professionals at DeShazer Ryan Realty, and they can help you with property in your area. For more, head to DeShazerRyanRealty.com. That's DeShazerRyanRealty.com. Okay, Matt, so it's time to deliver our letter grades for the Square Enix E3 2021 press conference. What are you giving it?
I'm going to also give this a B-.
Okay.
It's about it's all right. Did all right.
Yeah. I'm C+ for me. I thought the presentation was great. A lot of the things that I complained about with Xbox and Bethesda, they actually did in this. Like, they explained the games. They took time with each game. They weren't just rushing through. It wasn't just like trailer, dip to black, trailer, dip to black. It had a little personality to it. There weren't many humans in it. They did kind of have like the one girl from Life is Strange presenting some stuff.
Yeah, they had the director from that, and they had the bunch of people from
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, it just felt more
a bunch of people from Babylon's Fall.
Yeah, it felt more organic, more human, more informative. There wasn't as much fluff. Like, they threw to the mobile stuff, but each one of those was like 10 or 15 seconds long. I didn't find myself like dozing off or getting preoccupied.
I'm a little surprised they didn't do anything. Usually they spend some time on Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Like whatever the new
expansion is for that. They didn't show that. They didn't show Final Fantasy 16 really. No Dragon Quest, no Tomb Raider.
Brief mention of Forspoken.
Yeah,
but no
briefly.
No new footage or anything.
No new footage of that. But overall, like, I think for the time that they had, I think they made a good use of it. I thought what they showed looked pretty good. Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to play. I don't know. We'll see what the controls are like when we finally get our hands on it. Babylon's Fall, black hole to me. I don't really care about that game. I care about it less the more I see of it, which is not encouraging if you're Square Enix. But overall, I enjoyed watching the press conference. I thought it had a good selection. I thought it was stacked well. I thought they dedicated the right amount of time to everything. So, good job. I thought Square Enix did all right. And it is not done great in the past. So that's
there have been some dire Square conferences in the past.
Yep. So I thought that was pretty good. If you guys have any questions for us, hit us up in the chat. Also, we didn't get to answer as many questions as we wanted to from Microsoft and Bethesda because we had to go straight to Square so quickly. So if you still have some questions about Xbox and Bethesda, we're willing to answer those now as well. Here's the first one from EDH420. What grade would you give Sony for not showing up and instead releasing Ratchet and Clank?
If the alternative was not releasing Ratchet and Clank and showing up, I think I'll take Ratchet and Clank.
It's pretty damn good. Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Because it's E3, I only just have like scattered time to play it right now.
I've played 5 or 6 hours of it at this point, but like I got to say, like, not to spoil December, but like if there's going to be a better game this year, I don't know what it's going to be.
As far as craftsmanship, I don't know if there will be one. There's not going to be a better looking game, or I don't think there's going to be a game.
It's not on the schedule right now. If it is,
right, or a game that even feels that good to play.
Forza Horizon 5 is technologically in play, but
look, Ratchet isn't perfect either. I have some criticisms of it still. So I think there is some room for something else to slide in, and I haven't looked at the schedule. But
I don't.
Interesting.
I mean, I do not see anything on the 2021 release schedule that I expect to like better than this game.
Okay. Wow. That's a strong thing to say on June 13th or whatever.
It also is a little bit of my commentary on what I think of the rest of 2021's release schedule, to be fair.
It's not looking great. No. A lot of the big stuff has moved out.
If Horizon makes it, that's a real competition there.
Yeah.
But like right now, this is so head and shoulders above everything else I've played all year. It's
pretty amazing. It's like a technical marvel. Really, It is. It's like if you had shown me that game back in 1996 when the N64 and the PlayStation were around, I
wouldn't have believed you.
I literally might have had a heart attack and just fallen over.
I mean, there's moments already. It's moments in the game where I don't know I'm playing now.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I can control you now. Okay.
Yeah, because it'll show a cinematic.
Yeah.
And it'll pull back. and I'll sit there for a couple beats.
You're like, oh, it's me now. Oh, I'm on. Okay.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, like if in 96, like even like CG back then, you couldn't even fathom this. Go and watch like the Toy Stories from back then. Like they look like Dreamcast games almost. So it's certainly like next level in a lot of ways, and it honestly does feel like the first real next gen game I played.
So like I said, the first time I smashed a crate in this game, I said "wow" out loud, and only Insomniac could make me say "wow" after smashing a crate
in a game.
That should be the most boring thing in a video game by now, but they made it exciting again.
Yeah, you probably didn't, but if you watched like the first hour that I played and uploaded for our patrons, like I still was saying the same thing. First time I smashed a box, I was like, "Whee!"
Oh wow! Yeah,
and then like 40 minutes later, I smash a box, and I was like, "That never gets old." Like it just doesn't.
Well, there's all that the first sequence in the big parade and all that, the big setup thing, and then the title comes. You're like, how is there more of this game?
Yeah.
Like, how is that not just the first 5 minutes feel like it should have been like 5 years of work?
I know.
It's like
it's really insane. It's impressive, but I'm holding out. I think there can still be better stuff. Let's get to some other questions. Oh, here's a good one from Minority Games. Which one is the better game, Babylon's Fall or Final Fantasy Origin?
I mean, in terms of like what would I rather play?
Or what we just saw, yeah. Which do you think is the better game?
I would rather play Final Fantasy Origin.
That's a tough one for me.
Just as a Dark Souls fan and someone who isn't automatically excited about a Platinum game, I would definitely go Final Fantasy Origin.
That's a tough one for me. Ugh.
Or was it?
Because, I'm not the world's biggest Souls fan.
Strangers of Paradise? Is that what the thing's called?
I wrote it down, actually. Stranger of Paradise.
Stranger of Paradise.
Yeah, PS5 demo coming, also, they said. Oh, man, that's a tough one. Oh, I think I would have to go with Babylon's Fall. I'm not a big Souls guy. And the other part of the game so far of what I've seen is kind of a joke. So I'm not all that excited for either one, I guess I would say. It's like splitting hairs, but I guess maybe Babylon's Fall because I could play it with other people.
Yeah, I'd definitely rather play Origin, both because I'm more of a Dark Souls player, and also because, all the character stuff in Origin looks awful, but it also is kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
And I see no mirth in Babylon's Fall.
That's true.
Like, I don't feel like I have a good time.
You're right.
I can't really make fun of Babylon's Fall because it's just sort of laying there like a fish.
I can totally understand that angle. Yep. Let's see if we got some more. Don Lionheart. With some rather disappointing showcases so far, do you think Sony made the right call to not schedule anything? Well, I think Matt's answer. He's going to say yeah.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with the lack of... Sony hasn't done it for 2 years, and they're not doing it for a third, and the reason is because they don't need it.
Well, here's what I would say is that, sure, Sony missed an opportunity because it could have destroyed everyone. But it also kind of shows that maybe the E3 press conference is yesterday's news, and maybe Sony's made the right decision to not participate. So it's kind of a double-edged sword when you think about it.
Sony could definitely have blown everything else out of the water, but there's sort of an element of why waste your ammo?
Yeah. When you don't really need it.
Because you're not really in competition with any of these people in some ways.
And it's already, PlayStation... I mean, I'm not going to just determine it right now, but it's pretty certain that PlayStation 5 is going to win Generation 9.
Yeah, I think Xbox is going to close the gap to some degree, but Sony doesn't have to worry about anybody catching them.
Yeah,
this gen, maybe next gen,
maybe. Yeah, if Microsoft plays its cards.
If Microsoft's lineup and Bethesda stuff all comes through properly, that makes it a race. Yeah. But right now, Sony is untouchable in their space.
It seems that way.
Their only enemy is themselves at this point.
Do I think Sony had an opportunity to address the person who's still on the fence about which one to buy and maybe sway him? Yeah, I think they had that opportunity, but they'll have another opportunity to do that.
But you know what was an even better opportunity for that? Releasing Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, yeah. And they showed the demo of Horizon right before E3.
They're doing exactly what they did last year, and it's working fine for them. I'm sure we'll see them with a new state of play in August, right before the holiday season starts, and it'll all be fine.
Oh, so they did ask for a grade on that, not showing up in Ratchet instead. I'll give that a B-.
Yeah. No, I'll give that an A because Ratchet's great.
It is great.
I'm having way more fun playing Ratchet than I have ever had watching a press conference. So.
Yep. So Electro's asking, where's Cuphead? They actually just showed it yesterday, didn't they? I thought they showed it at one of the smaller events.
Cuphead. I mean, I saw the trailer for the cartoon. I didn't see anything.
Oh, maybe
about
that's
a
what
game.
it was. Yeah, I just saw it sliding by on SIFTD.
Yeah, Wayne Brady is King Dice.
Oh,
in the cartoon.
Wow.
Wayne Brady is in fact going to have to slap a bitch.
A lot of people were asking about the absence of Sony. Here's another one related. Follow Nick.
Sony had other plans.
Do you feel like with the absence of Sony, Microsoft will feel like it doesn't need to bring its A game to E3 ever again? No. Microsoft is still in second place. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Like, it's not leading the market right now. It needs to put its best foot forward every time.
Yeah. I think they did that today. I think it's just that's
the
all
best
they
foot
had.
they
Yeah,
had.
it's what they got. You know,
Yeah.
you can't do better than what's available.
Yep.
So next year, I think it will be a much different story for Microsoft. I think they will have almost all their big guns firing.
Yep.
At that, and who knows what Sony will do next year? Maybe they will feel compelled to do something next year.
Okay. Here's one from Fight JK. Overall, what score do each of you give E3 2021 so far?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. Probably a C+.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not.
It's better than average because it's the first real E3 with next-gen consoles, but I feel like it could be better, much better. Yeah, but
again,
COVID has a lot to do with that. And
yeah, it's too many factors like messing with what it is or what it could be. And would I give it a higher score if like all my friends were coming back into town again? Yeah, absolutely. But like, so it's kind of a weird stopgap E3.
Yep. Fox Fight. Were you disappointed that Final Fantasy Origin didn't seem to include any of the original game's mythic trappings? I would have loved to see Amano's influence in the art.
I would certainly prefer Amano's influence over Nomura's. I mean, obviously Garland is straight out of the original. You know, that's there.
They're saying the demo drops today.
Oh,
the
wow.
Origin demo drops today. Thanks, chat.
So like, yeah, so it's there. But yeah, I would have preferred the design of the original Warriors of Light adapted into, you know, the style of the rest of this game, as opposed to again a bunch of dudes from a small town indie band showing up with swords. Like this is like, I really hate that. I really hate that aesthetic.
And the grunts and the
that stuff too. But also like, I don't know. I don't like the modern, you know, that kind of Final Fantasy 13 Versus thing where like when Nomura got obsessed with putting modern looking clothing on characters that are in these worlds. It just doesn't
make
work.
sense. Yeah.
Like,
I think we're starting to see some of the stalwarts of Japanese game development of yore kind of showing their ass a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Yuji Naka.
Yeah, I was about to say Balan Wonderworld is the death knell
who
of
is not
something.
there anymore. And yeah. It feels like there's a page turning going on in the industry right now, and some people are on the pages getting turned. Unfortunately.
Which is, again, I don't know, like, you know, you could have shown almost anyone Balan Wonderworld early on and they would have told you that was a bad idea. Like, that's the thing I don't get. Is like, there's did you show this to anyone before you did it? Like, it just, the gardener could have told you that was not going to work.
In a lot of these cases, though, particularly with Japanese development, there's the honor thing that goes on in corporate America there, and like criticizing your superiors isn't something that you do as often as you do in the West.
You don't have to criticize superiors. Just do a focus test once in a while. Jesus.
Yeah.
But they're so secretive, they don't want to tell anybody outside the company.
Well, they may have done the focus test in Japan where that resonates more than it does here. Who knows?
I don't know.
I hear you, though.
You're making these games for the world now, though, so it's
yeah. They're trying to, but are they?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like
they're not. That's for the problem.
I don't know who you're talking to. You bet Matt Mercer could have told you that was a bad idea. He knows.
Nice callback. Vincent says, how much did you get to watch the Koch Media or Gearbox press conference so you can see what a real bad conference can be? I've been doing E3 for 20-some years. I mean,
we jacked into Cyber World back in the day.
Exactly. We've hung out with 99 million troops.
Yes.
Like, we've been there. I mean, nothing I've seen this year is as bad as some of the ones we've seen in the past.
Yeah, that Tecmo conference and the Konami conferences sometimes were
legendary.
Yeah.
The Activision one was terrible.
Yeah, Sony 2006.
Where Jamie Kennedy or whatever got up.
Ridge Racer.
Like,
that, I was third or fourth row center for that Ridge Racer PlayStation 2006 one. Like, there were moments I wanted to leave to spare myself the empathy embarrassment for the people on the stage. Like, it was. Yeah. There have been some bad press conferences.
We know what a bad press conference
The Xbox
is.
One launch year conference where they'd spent 15 minutes on the ESPN app. Like there's been some rough times.
Yep.
These are not even in the bottom half, really.
Yep. Hey, breaking news from Chevelle Man 1979. Halo Infinite out November 9th, 2021, according to Xbox Brazil. Okay. Right. Vincent is saying that the other two are worse than...
I mean, I'm sure they're worse than these.
Yeah, I'm sure they're worse than these. But, yeah that's why these got C's and B's instead of D's and F's.
And those would probably get D's and F's. Yeah, it's
that's why they got C's and B's.
It would never have occurred to me to watch a Gearbox conference, really.
Yep. All right, one last question before we go from Follow Nick. With so many games now on Game Pass and Microsoft Bethesda pushing the service so hard in the press conference, has it become a no-brainer purchase? Should Sony announce their response to Game Pass now? Has Xbox Series become a no-brainer purchase? Is that what he's asking?
Or does he mean Game Pass has become a no-brainer?
Game Pass? I mean, you need one for the other. Unless you're gonna play
if you have an Xbox, you should have Game Pass, I would say.
Because why would you ever buy... If you had an Xbox, why would you ever buy a game again?
Yeah, certainly in the first-party realm. Almost everything they showed in that thing is going to be Game Pass.
Everything. I didn't see anything that wasn't.
A couple of the indie stuff, like really other things. Yeah, like.
Why would they show them that?
I don't know.
Throwing them a bone.
I mean, maybe they are as well. They just didn't have the thing at the end of it. But almost everything else had the graphic at the end of it.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it means you have to buy an Xbox. I would say if you have an Xbox, you have to have Game Pass. Like, why would you throw money down the toilet buying physical games when you can get them almost all of them for free?
If you play 2 full-price games on that thing in a year, you've paid
it off.
Yeah.
And you're gonna. I mean, this year... Maybe a little dicey.
Yeah, but
starting
moving forward,
next year, you're good, man. That's
like
gravy.
Starfield?
Yeah. Like, dude, some people would pay $120 for a Starfield.
I might, depending on the collector's edition bullshit they throw at me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love this.
You give me a good enough spaceship model, I will give you a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, really what this says to me is you need to buy both. And I know that seems outrageous right now. One, because of the price. 2, because of the availability. But... really?
Yeah, the good news is that decision's kind of made for you right now. So you're going to get an Xbox.
Right. So here's the thing, though. If you get an Xbox Series console and you have the subscription to Game Pass, that's all you got to spend. It's not like it was owning 2 consoles in the past where you had to pay $60 for a game for each one of them. And if you add up what you spend at the end of the year, you're spending a lot of money. Not anymore. Like
between your backwards compatibility library on the Xbox and the Game Pass library, you could theoretically not spend another dime on a game on the Xbox for the rest of the year at least.
Yeah. Plus with the free stuff that you're getting from PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live and blah, 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 the game has changed. Like now, you can buy an Xbox, you can spend $10 to $13 a month for Game Pass, and you're golden on that platform. And then you look at your PlayStation as your more traditional one where you're going to pay the $70. Ratchet and Clank is $70.
$70, yeah.
So you're going to pay a little more for games, but you're going to pay for the games. But the games are going to be incredible. It's Sony first-party stuff. So I know it's hard to understand right now why you would be like, Shane, you're telling me to get both. I can't even find one right now. I get that. I'm talking about when things get to normal and all the chips and other parts that they can't source enough of right now to build these machines are available mid to late next year. Once you get your first console, maybe start thinking about buying that second one. But I just think it's great for everybody. I think Generation 9, off to a great start. I think it's only going to get better as we go. And I think but when it's all said and done, people are going to be playing more better games than they ever have and spending less money to do it. I think it's incredible. So that would be my closing statement or closing argument.
I still don't fully understand, as Pachter might say, where the profit deal is
for the
companies, but it's working out well for us.
It's not my problem. I don't care. When people are like, where's Microsoft making this? Who cares? I'm not a Microsoft stockholder. I don't work there. My job isn't on the line if they don't sell X number of games. And I would argue most of the people that work there, their jobs aren't on the line either. So who cares? Let them lose all the money in the world. Like, if it's good for us, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's, the coming years are going to be good for them. Like like you said, 23 in-house developers now. Like that they've basically rebuilt what.
We did not get the 3 studio announcement, by the way.
No, they did. They have basically rebuilt their first and second party stable, which was destroyed by the people. Was it who was running the show when they did Xbox One? Who was that? I forgot.
Phil Spencer.
Phil Spencer.
Yeah. Remember, I called for him to be fired, if you remember.
Like they gutted what they had built over the course of the 360 generation, and now they're just getting back to it. And you can only imagine a world where they didn't do that and they still had that momentum.
Where the Xbox One was kind of successful. where would we be right now?
Yeah.
That'd be, who knows?
Sony might still feel the need to come to E3.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's it for day 2 of E3 2021. I hope you guys had fun. I had a blast sitting here. I'll say this, my ass is really sore.
Yeah, these chairs are not comfortable as I remember them.
They're fine for 3 hours. It's when you start getting to like the 6-hour mark where they're not quite as comfy. So I'm ready to get up and stretch my legs and actually eat something. I think I had a bowl of cereal to eat today, and that's it.
Yeah, I haven't actually eaten anything
That's
today.
all I've had. But thanks for hanging out on the stream. You guys were great. You asked great questions right until the end. For tomorrow, we're thankfully getting a later start. We'll be here for, I think Capcom's at 2:30 kickoff.
Yeah, so we're actually doing that?
I think we are going to do it, yeah. We're not going to do Take Two because Take Two has turned out to just be a joke.
A roundtable thing.
Yep, yeah. So we'll be here for Capcom tomorrow. Our broadcast will start at 2:15 p.m. Pacific, 5:15 p.m. Eastern. And my guess is it's probably half an hour, 40 minutes, Capcom is. But we'll be back here tomorrow, and we'll get a nice little break. We don't have to get up, crack a butt crack early to come in here for...
that's for Tuesday.
That's Tuesday. And then Tuesday, Nintendo, and we'll be here bright and early for that. That starts at 9 a.m. And we will be online and streaming at 8:45 a.m. Be there or be square. So, Matt, thank you, man. I had a great time doing E3 with you today. Thanks to all you guys. It was a lot of fun hanging out with you guys, watching what really is the biggest press event for E3. I think that might be bleeding into my disappointment a little bit. Is that this was the big
we'll see what Nintendo's got.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Everybody have a great night. Thanks again for supporting us. By the way, all our shirts are on sale. All our latest T-shirts are on sale, 40% off. Matt was actually wearing one of them yesterday. Our 2 designs, the Sifted Army shirt and the Arcade Cabinet shirt, both of those are on sale, 40% off, just $15 a piece. Get them at sifted.net/store. The sale goes on until the end of the week when Matt and I do our Best of E3 awards on Friday. And then on Saturday, the prices will go back up. So if you've been waiting on a sale to get our new shirts, now is the time to do it. Again, sifted.net/store. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the great questions. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Capcom. Have a good one.